Welcome to Knowledge is Power Podcast Live with your host, Tony Redford, and my co-hosts, LaDonna Sherwood and Francis Larkins.
Knowledge is Power Podcast Live starts now.
Good evening, everybody. We're back on Knowledge is Power Podcast Live with my co-hosts, LaDonna Sherwood and Francis Larkin. We've got a special guest tonight, and I'd like to introduce this guest. She is now hosting the HealthWise Coalition Beaumont. The topic of this show is called How to Boost Your Immune Systems with Natural Medicine from PhD candidate Cheryl Jones, an engineer within the aerospace industry with 20 years as a senior lead safety engineer at NASA. Cheryl also has 150 hours of continued professional development in master herbalist coursework. She is also an engineer within the aerospace industry for 20 years as a senior lead operation safety engineer. Hello, Cheryl. Welcome to Knowledge is Power Podcast Live.
Welcome. Can you guys hear me okay?
Oh, you're wonderful. We can hear
We
you.
can.
Good.
Tony, would you like me to tell the people what Knowledge is Power Podcast Live is?
You sure can.
Okay. Knowledge is Power Podcast Live is a platform to share important information by educating Southeast Texas African American communities with valuable information on health, education, finances, politics, and business. Tonight, we are super excited to have the doctor on to give us some helpful information in the time of the pandemic. And we can't wait because we need it all, Doc. We need your help. Here we go.
Doc yet.
We speaking those things that be not as though they are.
I hear you.
Let me get a shout out. Let me get a shout out to some of our listeners and watchers, those who are watching viewers. Deborah Brown is saying hello. Hello, Deborah.
Hi.
Hey, everybody. Lillian Brown is saying hello as well. We're glad to have you all also. And then we are also, you can watch Knowledge is Power Podcast live. It's now on Facebook, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Google Play. Girls, you got it.
All right. Well, LaDonna, if you want, or I'll go right into it.
For me, I have a question. It's totally off the script. It's not what Tony sent us, but I had my own question prepared, and I just need to know, what do you think is the most important thing that we can do right now during this pandemic to keep our immune systems boosted right now? Forget what can we go and get or call you or buy or purchase, or what do we need?
Beautiful question. And it's a question that most people ask. And actually, I've given the presentation at my job twice. Two engineers that do just as much of research as I do, right? But what you want to do, and this is how I live, because at the beginning stages, I want to say of maybe March, when we first went into the lockdown, I guess, per se, I was in a grocery store without a mask because it was at the beginning of the pandemic, right?
Right.
And so I came home, I had a fever, I had all of these symptoms that I have never had before, dizziness, all of this stuff. And I had researched everything to take for the pandemic. And so I had just came from the stores, dropping everything off to my family members. And it was vitamin D3, and vitamin D3 actually synergize. It works in synergy with K2, the MK7 form. You can find it in studies and run it by your doctors, because I can't cure, treat, diagnose, or prevent, but I can give you the science. In natural medicine, doctors, we tie science. And so I'm still in that coursework, like I was saying, but we do the research because it's what we do, right? And I have 20 years of that with NASA in the space industry. So vitamin D3, K2 in synergy, zinc, raw form of zinc is very good. And the studies show between
wait, before you can you break that down? What does that mean, raw form? What does that mean? Explain to us.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's a food grade form. So when you're getting supplements, I'm sorry, my mind, I gotta break it into layman's terms, right? So when you're looking at supplements, most people think that they can just go buy whatever that name is. You're gonna get zinc, right? But the problem is the supplements are polluted with a lot of additives and fillers and things like that. So you want things that are in their closest to God state as possible, meaning those things that are just that ingredient or so. And so the Garden of Life company, they sell a raw zinc that is really good. And you can, before you buy any of these supplements, you can always like go on Amazon or somewhere where there's feedback from people who have purchased. And those are pretty decent. But if you stick with the right brands, you'll know what to buy. And I'm here for that. I'm here to help.
So what are some foods, not to interrupt you, but what are some foods that we can purchase that would include zinc? Is there any food or anything we could take that we just buy at the grocery store?
You lost us with that raw form. Does that mean
here's the thing. So I don't say to get it from your foods, because if you look at what's going on, because food is not going to be enough, not for your cells, because we're in a toxic environment. And not just that, the ground, the soil, when we're buying from these stores, in the grocery stores, and not like your local farmer, then they're not treating the soil. They're not adding back in the magnesium, the calcium, the what else? All the phosphorus. None of that's really in the soil. So if you go ahead.
What's a raw form of zinc? What is a raw form of zinc? What would it come in?
I do everything plant-based. And so
so it's a plant that just basically it creates zinc, or what does raw form mean when you say in a plant-based version? Where are they getting it from? Do you know?
When it's raw, it's meaning that it hasn't been machined. It's exactly that plant. And so it is not.
So it's a plant that kind of produces a lot of zinc or something.
Everything that you get from your animals comes from plants. And so all of your vitamins, your minerals, your amino acids, except for certain vitamin, I would say D, but you still can get vitamin D from C. You can get from sea plants. So everything that your body needs to thrive is going to come from a plant. It's going to come from the plant nutrients. And so from the soil is where you're going to get everything that you need.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So when I say raw, it just means that it's really like just the leaf of whatever the plant is that you're taking, just grind it up, put in a pill, and it's what you're getting.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Look,
So
I'm following you now. You know, we got questions. I'm trying to make sure we understand. I'm following you now. So that zinc that we're getting is from the raw plant form. It's not necessarily from an orange or apple, or it's the actual plant that we can get the most zinc out of, that they crush it up or put it into a capsule and we have it that way.
Exactly. And
okay, I'm following you.
Yeah. And you can read the back of the label, and the back of your labels when you're buying, because it may be, you want to know which source they're getting. Yeah. that supplement from.
So is it possible to take too much zinc? If I'm just going out and buying these supplements, would it be in my best interest to go to my physician and get my panels done before I just started taking all these supplements? Or could I just say, okay, well, I know that this is going to benefit me and it's going to help me, so I'm just going to go and purchase this? What would be the best route or the best rule of thumb to make sure that we're balanced?
Well, wait,
Okay,
let me
you
make
never.
sure I understand the questions, Francis. Are you saying that you can over medicate or over zinc or
Yeah,
over vitamin D in case
that's what
you?
I'm
Okay,
wondering.
okay,
Can you?
You can
okay.
you can overdo anything, right?
Okay.
And so you never want to play doctor. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why I was saying between 30 milligrams to 100 milligrams is what's tested per day. So the
Okay.
science behind, and then here's another problem. If you are on prescription meds already, there are contraindications. And whereas if you're on a blood pressure medication, then if you're taking that and then you try to diagnose yourself and then go out and buy these supplements, and that medication doesn't absorb correctly because you're taking zinc at
Yes.
maybe 200 milligrams or above that threshold that's been studied, then you're going to have major issues. So that is why anything that we give out in the ministry, this coalition, and because it's more than just me, it takes a village. So it's more than just me. But the information that we give out, we always say run everything by your physician, your health professionals. And in a lot of cases, they don't understand natural medicine, but they will tell you what will interfere with their prescription meds.
Okay.
So, Cheryl, let me ask you this question. Why are there so many health disparities amongst the Black and Hispanic American population as we are now seeing with this virus impact?
That is a lengthy answer, but I'm going to break it down. I can tell you that genetically, if you look across, and you said the Hispanic population and Black Americans, correct? And those are the large numbers that we're seeing connect to COVID, correct? And so what we need to look at is when you're looking at it from a cell, like a immune system function, what are they doing differently than the others that are coming away from COVID-19? What's different, right? So you want to look at that first, but we must admit that we eat a lot of poor foods. We eat a lot of foods that will not shape our cells in your mitochondria. Okay, your mitochondrion, but the mitochondria is all of your cells, that ATP, that energy that you get from inside of the makeup of your cell. That is what helps you to say, I'm going to get rid of this free radical that has entered my system. But if you're eating foods that are already chemical based and toxic, and you've been doing this for generations, it's become the norm. And the problem with that is not just the Blacks, Americans, not just us, not just the Hispanics, it's anyone that eats poorly, right? And then as you go into the history behind our culture and what we've been fed, and then also the things that are inside of the neighborhoods. What's in range? What's in range in the communities, right? And so when we were younger, maybe things were better for us. I'm not sure. All I know is that my grandfather had a farm. I mean, he had a garden. So we ate from that garden, right? My
Me
mom,
too.
huh?
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
And my
grew up
mom,
and we ate from the field.
we ate from the field. And my mom is 75 and has never been on a prescription med her
Yes,
entire
ma'am.
life. And so when we start looking at the various, I guess, individuals and then what their intake of certain foods are, then you can start separating, and you'll be able to understand that because of generational food issues of eating the wrong things. But then you'll hear people say, well, my grandfather ate a bunch of pork, nothing happened. Was there 418 parts per million of carbon dioxide and all of the pollution from methane in the environment then? So we're not doing apples with apples when we go back to the grandfather's generation. They weren't spraying toxins, pesticides, herbicides, glyphosate that you see all over the news. They were not spraying those things. They were not using those things on their foods.
Now,
Were
Michael,
there
I want to go
toxins?
back to my original question. I'm sorry, not to cut you off. So we got D3, K2, zinc. Is there anything else we're supposed to be including in that recipe to
Our
boost
diet.
our immune system?
There are so many things I can give you with science that backs it up, okay? Because here's the thing, in natural medicine, and also looking at herbalists, right? All of the herbalist history. There are so many things that God has designed for us to boost our immune systems. So I can give you what we have been giving to people to run by their doctors, because no individual has gone into the hospital at all. And it's a whole bunch of them. We're all over Beaumont giving information. We even drop off Astragalus root. That's one you want to write down. It has high polyphenols, meaning the plant medicine part of it is very high in bioflavonoids, which is something that your cell needs to shape it to fight off free radicals. So Astragalus root is what we are having them run by their doctors. Can y'all still hear me okay?
I have to
Yes,
say
ma'am.
astragalus root. Yes, we can't. I was gonna say you're gonna have to say that slow so I can type that in, darling. That's a big word.
Astragalus. Astragalus. It is an herb root, and it's an extract that you want because it goes into the bloodstream quicker. So if you get powder, it's fine, but it's better than getting capsule. So you always want the extract first because it goes into the bloodstream quicker. And you want a good brand, because just because it says it's Astragalus root extract doesn't mean that they haven't mixed it with something else. And so you want to be able to read that bottle and understand the ingredients list. So
let me interrupt right quick. I want the audience to know, the viewers that's watching this live, that we're going to come in and ask the comments that you're making, the questions that you would have for Ms. Cheryl Jones, and so don't go away. We're gonna ask those questions for you because I'm sure it's important to you. So go ahead, Cheryl. Go ahead. And also, while we're talking about this, let me let everyone know that that on this day, let me take this ad down. I'm sorry. Let me do this, and then I'm gonna go up here. There we go. Cheryl, would you tell us about this first organic, non-GMO, the clean veggie that you're having on February 28th here in Beaumont?
Okay, as I stated before, we have a coalition, because if you look, the need is in Beaumont. It's in all of the Golden Triangle area, because your foods are very toxic there. You can't just go to a restaurant and eat and expect to bypass soy, which we know soy is connected to a lot of various diseases. When you come away from soy, you will find that you won't have as much phlegm because it is a mucus and inflammation creating food. Okay. And so if you start tying that stuff, you back it out of your daily intake, right? When you try to go eat at a restaurant, they'll tell you that they're using vegetable oil. Well, the vegetable oil is loaded with soy, and then soy is genetically engineered in this country. And so what that means is that it's genetically engineered by the seed so that when they spray toxins on it, it kills the bug. The bug's stomachs blow up and they're dead, right? But this is the same food that is, if it's not in its organic state, right, is sprayed, and then we're eating this stuff. And so you can't just eat clean. You'll think, hey, I'm eating everything. I don't know why I'm still connected to prescription meds. Your body is toxic. It is overloaded with the chemicals that are approved to be in your food. And so we saw the need, and every last one of us, we're not struggling with any disease. I came away supernaturally by a deliverance prayer in Christ. Our ministry is founded in Christ. In one day, the same day that prayer was administered, I came away from every prescription med that I was taking for 15 years, came away from it. And then after that, the Holy Spirit led me to all of the toxins inside of our foods and what I needed to stay away from. And I formed the ministry to help others. And then we have broadened everything with health-wise. So the food that we're giving to you guys is plant-based because we know it's the quickest way to get you away from a toxic body. And so that's what that event will be. Wow. To help you guys with that.
And what day? That's February the 28th. At what time?
It's from 1 p.m. and we were saying till 4, but we may go till 5. It just depends on, how many people.
And the location?
It's 2498 Washington Boulevard, right in the parking lot where Classic Car Wash. I don't know if you guys know John Simon, but right there. If you're from the Pear Orchard, you should know John Simon. Okay.
That's a Clean Veggie Eats event, February the 28th at 1 o'clock at 2498 Washington Boulevard here in Beaumont. And it's
will there be samples there? Will there be a chef, some samples there for people to partake, to see that clean eating can be as good as anything else?
If we had the time, we would do it. But we have a large following, and I can guarantee you that those that follow us will be buying up that food. We cook.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I was thinking of doing like brownies or something that are organic and just so that you could taste. But the food, I'm just letting you know, it's not gonna stay. And I can.
Well, that's what I was gonna
taste. A little taste for you, but I have to be able to accommodate too.
Right.
Now,
yes, ma'am.
I want to ask you a question, just on the outside note. Is the difference between vegan eats and vegetarian? Explain to me, is there a difference? Because my friends tell me vegetarian and vegan are not necessarily the same thing. Am I correct on that?
You're correct. Vegetarian, they eat cheese. They just don't eat the animal. They eat the animal's byproducts. Vegans do not eat anything associated with the animal. We do not get our foods from animals. No animal proteins at all.
Wow. So being a vegan, you don't eat any animals at all?
No animal byproducts, nothing.
We're trying to wrap our minds around this, Ms. Jones.
It's okay.
Look at Tony.
Who's educated this population of people?
The ones that are connected to the compromised immune systems.
Yes.
I don't believe they're adequately educated concerning the destruction that occurs just from the foods that they are intaking. I can tell you that I used to eat out everywhere. I was the eating out queen, right? When I ate meat. And I didn't understand what was in our foods because we know that we have governing agencies. And so you believe that they're doing their job and you should be able to eat whatever you purchase without it harming your system, right? Because we're always told it has to do with allergies, but no, it has to do with chemicals that are approved to be in our foods. And so I learned to come away, and the animals are fed chemicals. They're fed genetically engineered crop and feed, and they're also able to be given prescription meds before they're slaughtered. And
Wow.
so, and even organic.
Hush your mouth.
Hush your mouth.
I was just gonna say, girl, I hit my camera off trying on that one. So you're saying even when we go to Whole Foods and I'm buying this expensive ass
Organic.
organic stuff, these animals are still not what we think they are?
It's not that. What it is you're only given so much information. A lot of things are not disclosed to you. You have to go and you do your research. I can tell you, to be considered organic, the way that the USDA's rules are set up is you can be 95% organic and 5% synthetic. So that means by law that these food companies are able to use 5% of chemicals. And when animals are going to be slaughtered and it's on a industrial farm, they're going to make sure that they get their profit. And so if they're sick and before they go to slaughter, I have that science. It's on 1 and 2. This is for you. 3 and 4. Eat healthy, live more. I post all day long because I see the connection to compromised immune systems. And so what you buy in Whole Foods, there are some companies that are more ethical than others. That's why you should understand your brands. I have the science. I've done the legwork, and so has Health Wise, everyone that's connected to the coalition. We can help.
So does some of this have to, let's just say, does air pollution have something to do with it?
Oh, goodness, yes. If you look at compromised immune systems, there are so many studies that are out there that show the disease connection with air pollution. And then also, when the air is polluted, you're looking at the travel that goes, depending on the molecules within the chemical. If it comes from whatever point, it can travel 100 miles downwind, depending on which direction that wind is blowing. Now, there are other studies. If you look at the Gulf War with the sarin gas, it traveled 300 miles and infected a lot of the Gulf War veterans. And their alarms were going off like crazy. I have all the studies. This is my ministry. The Holy Spirit led me to it. So all of the things that are going on with most of the Gulf War veterans, it's all based on a toxic, overburdened body. And if they detox at the cell level by eating clean foods, by using glutathione and N-acetylcysteine, those are things that work in the amino acid form that you need, that God designed your body to have. They can come away from a lot of things, and especially brain inflammation. Because once you're toxic,
I was just going to say, is that affecting their mind with the PTSD and things of that nature?
yeah.
Girl, you are really flipping our script tonight.
Oh yeah, there are several studies, but remember, Jesus is our healer and he is the deliverer. So spiritual side works, but most people don't understand how God's kingdom works in this earth. Supernatural healing occurs, but you must believe. You must walk in obedience to his word. And most don't know that. So if they don't walk in obedience and understand that Jesus is the solution, then there is a method that they could use. And God is so perfect till he knows that everyone's not going to get the spiritual. So what he does is he provides things that will not harm them, that are natural. But most people want to use what they're accustomed to, and that is the prescription med industry. And I'm not saying that people should come off of prescription meds, but they should also give the natural medicine a try and see if they feel better with it. But most people don't do it because they're used to doing what the world does, and the world's connected to prescription medications.
Money.
And this could connect to people's pocketbooks. That's about money.
I couldn't hear you.
I can't hear you that time.
Could
All
you
right.
say
I was
again?
gonna say connected to money. I said those prescription meds are only connected to the money. That's what their connection is.
Yeah.
Well, let me
Big
ask you this.
pharma.
Let me ask you this. Uh, why
I
are
don't
so many
disagree.
people sick with illnesses?
Say it again.
Why are there so many people sick with illnesses in our communities and connected to prescription medication?
Have you guys looked at the toxic releases that are occurring in your area?
Mm.
I'm just wondering. Have y'all been alerted
No,
to
but you know
the?
what? I have a friend that does a thing on air quality, and she does a water report and different things, and she's real big into this, and she's like, you know what, LaDonna, they're not taking care of us right. And I don't understand all of it because a lot
Uh-oh, she's
I can't
breaking
hear
up.
her.
LaDonna, you're breaking up. You have to excuse LaDonna. Her router. She bought her router from the Dollar Tree store.
Oh,
And
she had a very good point.
I'm visiting. I'm visiting. Can you guys
yeah.
hear me? I'm visiting. I'm at my mom's, so that's why
Oh,
my
okay.
system is not like it normally is.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, my friend is big into water quality and air pollution, and she
That's
says,
right.
we're suffering here locally, and not all
Yeah.
over the world, but I'm talking about here in Southeast Texas. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
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 Yeah, and
Yes.
it is a disaster. And she said, it's affecting us, even our kids' teeth and things of that nature. She told me. I don't know all
Yes.
the answers, but she said, yes, it's true.
It's
And
true.
let me chime in on that for a second. So just me, for a lack of better understanding, when it comes to the farmers market, I'm always a little sus because if those vegetables and those plants are grown in this area and you have all of the industries around us that the rain, I guess, that I use to fertilize those plants, I mean, it's kind of like a catch 22 almost. Is it as healthy as we think we're digesting? Because to me it's kind of like, well, if that is the same rain that is basically being evaporated into the clouds, and then that's the same thing that is actually fertilizing our plants, as I just mentioned, how is that healthy for us? It's kind of like, is there a win in that? Even though we're thinking we're eating something natural and from the earth, it has all of these. My mind is thinking, oh well, it just has all these toxins
Mhm.
included in this. So, am I thinking of that right? Is what LaDonna's saying and what I'm saying and what I'm thinking, is that combined or is that together in any kind of way?
No, it's not together. And
Okay.
what LaDonna is saying is correct concerning the quality, the air, the poor air. That
Mm,
and you guys, I'm on an alert for your area and my area. They have been emitting tons of toxins, especially during COVID-19. I have every report. So the problem with that is immune systems are compromised more when that happens. And so these are your industrial plants in the area that's emitting the pollution. That's why so many of us voted for climate change to be corrected, because it's at the center of why all this stuff is going on, right? Now, concerning your question,
LaDonna.
look, no, I thought it was LaDonna.
Francis.
Francis.
Okay, Francis. So, Francis, concerning your question, plants are very robust,
Okay.
and certain plants do very well when there is pollution. Okay, it is their chemical makeup. It's the way God designed them. But the problem is the soil. So the
Mm,
CO2 that's higher, it's not going to affect them like it affects living tissue. So living tissue, and that's the science. If you want it, I don't mind giving it. I have years of it. But if you want good, clean food, you want to buy from a farmer that does not use pesticides and herbicides, a sustainable farmer. Doesn't have to be fully organic because it costs to have that certification. Extremely expensive in a lot of cases. Well, in all cases. And so you will see a farmer that sustainably grows, and he will, meaning no pesticides, herbicides, and he uses the, farming from your grandfather and his grandfather the right way. And so the plants are not as delicate as living tissue.
Okay, so I'm
And even
okay
though
with
they
my
are,
purple hole peas because I gotta have my purple holes.
they are living plant tissue, right? But they can handle more of the CO2.
Okay.
Some of them thrive even better in it.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
So what about poor quality food?
Many people don't understand that they're eating poor quality food because they'll go into a store and they will pick up grapes and say, "Oh, I want to get my nutrients from eating fruit." And grapes are very toxic if they're conventionally grown. And when I go to the stores in Beaumont, it's almost as if that's all you have is conventionally grown grapes. And so I'll leave that junk in the store because I know that that is what messes with my immune system and adds in more toxins. People are sick because their bodies are overburdened and at a heightened threshold with chemicals in them.
How do you know
So
if they're grown conventionally? I'm sorry, Tony.
yeah, go ahead.
The number. If you go into the store and you see 4 digits in the number, if you see a 4, like usually it'll start with a 4 in front, right? But it doesn't always have to. 4 numbers are conventionally grown. Before they stopped labeling, anything genetically engineered was with an 8 in front. But remember all the people that everyone called crazy that was walking around saying, label our food, label our food. Well, we lost that battle. And so 8 is not there to designate that it is genetically engineered for you. Anything that has a 9 in front is organic.
Oh wow. Okay.
I learned something there. I've been
Mm-hmm.
learning for the last 37 minutes. Great information. Great information yet that you are sharing with us. And wow. Let's me go here, and I'm going to ask a question for one of our viewers, and we'll come back to some of the questions that we want to ask for. And Lorraine Nelson is asking, what about elderberry syrup?
Elderberry syrup, is that good? It is. Actually, there are some mixed studies with elderberry, and I'm still trying to vet it to make sure that it is true, because in some cases you will have science that has been twisted because of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that way. You will see that a lot of studies that come out will say, hey, yeah, you can do this, but really they're after money. I can tell you that the cytokine storm, that's where your body, when you contract COVID, right, it is working so hard to try to fight the virus off until it starts attacking its own system. And so the cytokine storm goes up, so say, when people contract COVID, and you don't want to add like things that have a lot of sugar and things like that in it. And so elderberry was discouraged when you contract COVID. I can tell you when I've had the symptoms, and other people who have come away from it have taken elderberry and they are COVID negative. They never went into hospitals. They had underlying health conditions. So
I have
this,
one
That's good.
question.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel? I'm sorry, Tony. How do you feel about colloidal silver? Because people were
colloidal
saying that,
silver,
yeah,
colloidal silver, or you can, whatever, I know what you mean. I like
right,
this.
right, right. I might be saying it wrong. I'm on the black side.
Oh, that's all right. I'm black too, and I mess up a whole bunch of words. You could just correct me. I'm telling you, I do. My team laughs when I go to work and I'll say one word and they're like, hee, hee, hee. I said, you know what I meant.
That's
I do
right.
Right,
that
right,
all the time.
right,
That's right.
right,
That's
right,
me.
right.
I mess up a whole lot of words.
Yes, you do, Tony. Yes,
I know
you
I
do.
do.
That part is true, Tony. That part is true.
I love colloidal silver. It's very good, but again, a threshold. And I want to say per day, just read the bottle. It's always on the back of the
Right,
bottles.
right, right. I just wonder because somebody introduced me to that, and I said, well, now that we have this show, I want to make sure that that's actually something that's beneficial, not detrimental during the time of the pandemic.
But you have to make sure again the brand, because
Right, right,
what'll
right.
happen is these
You're right.
companies and these universities will test toxic or polluted stuff and say, oh, this doesn't work, it's junk, it's because it's a junk product to begin with.
Okay. Another question. Lorraine Nelson is asking, my family has switched to drinking almond milk. Is that better for you?
Anything that's away from dairy because of the inflammation and the mucus creation that occurs. But here's the thing, you still got to read your labels. Is it really almond milk? That's almond milk. The best thing is always to make it or know those brands that you're buying. I buy organic if I'm buying almond milk because carrageenan was in a whole bunch of what carrageenan is red seaweed, and it does not do well when the stomach, it messes with the stomach, and we have problems as humans trying to digest it. So it's been removed out of a lot of products. And so you have to know what you're buying. I would buy organic if they're going to buy almond milk in the store, and read the label to make sure that there is no carrageenan. It's carrageenan, carrageenan.
Okay. One more.
Okay.
What natural herb is good for rheumatoid arthritis?
There are so many. Actually, I just studied that, and I don't want to give you the wrong information. I want to say astragalus root is good in an herb form for it. Anything that would be anti inflammatory, against inflammation, any herb, but you would want one that has a higher auric is what it's called. And what that means is that it has a higher medicinal composition within that herb. If you send a message to me, I'll give you the ones that are the highest that would help with inflammation.
Great. So now let me back up, and I'm going to ask this question since we're talking about the immune system and how to boost your immune systems with natural medicine. Are there more reasons that most blacks and Hispanic Americans have compromised immune systems?
Yes. In their areas, you'll notice that there's industrial pollution. And so it's something that I'm bothered by because I know where I grew up. And when you see the proximity to those industrial plants and the food choices, and not just that, the water sources. And so most minorities cannot afford whole house treatment, water treatment, purification systems, or reverse osmosis because it costs so much, right? And so you will see them in a state where they're like, we don't have any other way. This is all that we have to eat, or we won't eat, or, I don't have a vehicle. And so a lot of it is because their areas have become food deserts. And not just that, the emission of the emitting of the toxins from the industrial plants are right there in their backyards. The water is toxic most of the time. And the reason why I say that, over long term, it is. Now, you'll say, okay, well, it's going through the treatment facility, and it is. And it's also further chemicals added to mask all of the chemicals that are coming in from those plants. Now, they'll tell you, well, we don't get our water source from Beaumont. You get it from Hardin County. We just looked that up today, Letitia and I. So you get some of the water from wells in Hardin County. Then you also get your water from the Neches River. Have you looked at those reports? So all of the toxins that are emitted in the atmosphere and that are on the surface or inside of that water that goes into the treatment facility. And if you looked at the chemicals that are still showing up after they come out of the water treatment, after it's treated, they have been above the threshold. You can find your water reports at Environmental Working Group, ewg.org, and put in your zip code. Look for the water tables, and you'll see all of the contaminants.
Wow, that was my next question I was going to ask you about the water sources.
Yeah.
So you answered that question without me even asking that question.
But it's not just Beaumont, because here's the problem. When you think that you put the plant in an area and it's only gonna, it's not gonna make people sick that are far off. As I told you before, we're so negligent with the impacts with climate change. You'll see all kind of plants everywhere. And as I told you, 100 miles at the least downwind is where these chemicals are blowing when there's a release. The problem, the key is people who live downwind and are far away from the plants, they usually live in the suburbs and they have the money to get the whole house water treatment purification systems because they know the science. And then they also go into your stores and they read the food labels.
Speaking of food label, grapes is my favorite fruit. And I heard you said earlier that grapes are grown. Did you say that grapes are?
They're sprayed.
They're sprayed. Yes, it's toxic.
Yeah, the conventional ones have lots of residue. I have the science.
Yeah, how can we tell which is toxic grapes or it is naturally grown grapes?
The number, if you're buying it in the store, you buy the ones with the 9 in front.
9 in front. So that's on all fruits that has a label that says 9 in front.
It's organic, yep.
You hear that, Tony? For you won't be eating no toxic ass grapes. We don't need you to drop dead, okay?
Well, I've learned a lot tonight, and you have really, really given us some great information on eating healthy and not only that, but
I'd like to give y'all a recourse because it's not a dooms all, okay? So the recourse is this. If your body is over toxic, what should you do? You should get rid of those toxins, right? And so if you continue to feed your body toxins, that cell is going to continue to connect to disease. But there is a science called epigenetics, EPIGENETIC. Look it up. What happens is our genes can be transcribed based on what we feed those cells. And it is called the messenger RNA. Does that sound familiar to you? The messenger RNA?
Not at all.
no.
It should. That's what your vaccine does.
I was about to say, it sounds familiar to me. Isn't that something that RNA is connected to what they're doing right now with the COVID vaccine, correct?
It is called the RNA technology vaccine. But
yes,
I won't get into that. I will tell you.
Okay, but I heard it. I heard that RNA before.
Mm-hmm. I figured you would have. So here's the key. With epigenetics, there are studies that's taken place. I don't want to name because I work at a certain place, right? And so you can find these studies that are out there. The studies looked at the genetics of twins, right? And then they fed them different, and these are identical twins. They fed them different diets, right? Over time. And they saw one connect to something if they would have continued longer with feeding them those bad ingredients, and the other one that was fed another nutrition profile was fine, right? Now, what we know for sure, and I'm just telling you that it matters what you feed a cell, what you feed your body. And so what we know with epigenetics is that we may be born a certain way, but we know how to manage things based on feeding, taking in the right nutrients where we're depleted, taking in those nutrients at a heightened level, and we can connect again to a restored body based on the information that we're feeding those cells. That's how we boost cell immunity. The other thing is this. So I mentioned feeding the cell. The other thing is most people who were born in an area and grew up in an area where air toxins were prominent, right? What happens with them is over time, their cells transcribe and they'll connect to diabetes and all kind of other diseases. Now, they're eating bad too in a lot of cases. So we can change the food and in a lot of cases, not the water if they're disadvantaged, but we can change the food. And that's why we're seeing more people across this nation having community gardens. That is a must, especially in disadvantaged areas. We need backyard growers. We need people who are ethical, that will see the need in areas where their brothers and sisters are struggling. They are connected to diabetes. When we know that it is a food issue, we can give them and offer them better things to help change, transcribe those cells to get them where they need to be. And that is restored in health.
Awesome. Hey, listen, let's go here because I saw something that I want to share from Letitia Dean. She's saying the study also shows that crime is linked to toxic brains. That's first I've heard that.
There's a study. So thank
Yes.
you, Letitia. Thank you. She wasn't able to be, she had a family emergency. But here's the thing. There's a study that went on for 12 years and it looked across the prisoners in Chicago. And if you look at prisoners and how they're fed poor food, right? They, you know, we see them going in and out of the system, just back in and out, in and out. And the first thing we want to say is that something's wrong with them mentally. Well, of course, maybe so, because they are missing brain nutrients. And what that study proved is most of those repeat offenders, right? They were nutrient depleted in their brains. They were nutrient depleted with vitamin D, vitamin B, right? And they lived in the inner city where most of the pollution from the industrial plants and factories were. So they were over toxic in their brains.
Wow. Wow.
And they're looked at as they're horrible offenders. No one ever takes the time to see what they're feeding them in the prisons. Okay. Just like the guy, and I don't want to take sides, but the guy that rushed the Capitol, and he said he had to have, his mom said
organic food.
I believed it.
Right. The bullhorn guy.
Yeah.
And he is making him, they moved him prisons to give him organic food because the prison he was.
He would have died.
Now,
Oh, I'm
he
sure.
would have died. He went on a
I'm telling
starvation
you,
strike.
Mhm.
He said he wasn't going to eat that
he
food.
couldn't
He was
eat the
going to,
food.
he said, I'm not going to do it. And he was going to die and he wasn't going to eat the food. It was like several days that he hadn't eaten because he wasn't going to eat that. They had to move him prisons to get him organic food. The prison he was in couldn't accommodate his request. In real life, he went on a strike.
Yeah. But here's the thing. This is truth. If I connect to soy, if I connect to gluten, okay, there are so many things that I cannot have. And if I put it into my system, it's as if I have a severe flu going on because I've been off this stuff for going into February, going into my 7th year.
Oh,
And
wow.
so my body looks at it as poison. And there's mucus, there's phlegm, so I'm just saying, I'm not judging him because I know the food and I know how horrible it is.
Wow.
But someone should be advocating for those who are repeat offenders that are given that same poison, right?
Right, who's not getting the organic food, who bodies is toxic, who may be affecting their brain and everything. You know what? This was a very powerful program tonight.
Yes.
Thank
Very
you.
educational. And I thank you a lot, Sheriff, for joining us. You've been such a great guest. You've given us all some information. So, people, if you're watching the show or you're listening to the show somewhere, please share it with your friends, your neighbors, and loved ones. This is really helpful.
Thank you.
Knowledge is power, and
Thank
power
you.
is knowledge, So, uh, Cheryl, you've been giving us some great information, and I thank you so
Thank
much for that. And before we move on, I'm going to ask. I've got another deal here, and we're going to close out with this last question from one of the as Megan Savette saying autism in children can also be linked to toxic foods and dyes in all foods, candy, and cereal. That's why our food choice is so important. Organic foods are always best. What are your thoughts on that, Cheryl?
She's HealthWise Coalition as well, and my cousin.
Oh, okay.
So it's true, and it's backed by science, of course. She owns Megan is a Meal. She's a part of the coalition. We're here. We're on the ground to get you
Right,
guys what you need, and our
right.
food is amazing.
And the last guest asking, can you share Dr. Cheryl information, please?
I'm not
Can
a
you?
doctor. I'm an engineer, 20 years, but I'm in natural medicine school, and it is very difficult. I'm only on my 3rd class now.
Well, we think you a doctor and we here for it, okay? You can't
Yeah,
change our mind. We
yeah.
willing it to you, girl. We
Would
willing
you
it to
would
you.
you like to would you join us again on the show, because this is very important, and I
Anytime.
think we didn't touch the surface on all the knowledge and information you can share with us
But let me
in our
give you this
friendship.
before I leave.
Yes.
I'm going to give it to you for your families. So vitamin D3, K2, zinc, run all this by your doctor. I can't cure, treat, diagnose, prevent. I have to say that. That's a disclaimer, right? I
Okay.
can't cure, treat, diagnose, prevent. And this is only science that I'm giving to you, and the things that we use and others have used to come away from multiple diseases and ailments. So vitamin D3, K2, elderberry before, and I'm not saying this is going to prevent COVID. I'm helping you boost your immune system and fight if it needs to fight. So I told you elderberry before, because there's a study out there that says it increases the cytokine where your body starts attacking itself, right? And then it goes into a major down spiral. So watch that. You can take it before to help boost the immune system. The other is Astragalus root, the extract. Nature's Way has performed very well in studies. And it has, I want to say 2,000 milligrams as opposed to others that may have 1,000 milligrams per serving. The one that's Nature's Way that has 2,000 milligrams is your body can only absorb so much. So don't be focused on, I can't find the one that has 200 milligrams. Get a clean brand. And clean brands are like Vitamin Shop, anything Gaia, or anything that y'all need and need to find out the brand. I will give it to you, okay? Contact me. People do all day long. The other is quercetin, which is Quercetin, okay? Quercetin is used it was used in a lot of studies in addition with other medications in the hospital at Eastern Virginia Medical School. So that was one. The other, okay, so I gave you Astragalus, zinc, vitamin D3 and K2. What else are they taking, y'all? I'm trying to think.
Cheryl, do you have a book that is out, or do you have something we can, our listeners and followers can follow you on tips and advice on the natural foods?
Well, 1 and 2, this is for you, has everything. The studies, it has everything. That ministry page. You can join.
Is that a website?
It's a Facebook page. My website is hlvmagazine.com, and it's with all of our different the HealthWise Coalition. We have a bulk buying club. I don't want to forget that. The bulk buying club, for people who cannot afford the things that are so expensive in the stores, we have a delivery service that drives out to the Clear Lake area. And then my friends, they're growing their farm. And so they own a farm also near Livingston. But I don't know how far, but it's good soil, right? Everything's organic. So we charge $10 for the month, right? So $5 to drive to get, and then to bring back. So $2.50 each way. And we drop off clean food that is low cost to the community in Beaumont, and the surrounding areas can meet. But she drops, Letitia Dean owns Living Well Solutions, and she drops everything off, Dean Management, to the doors for the $2.50 each way. And they just order. We don't make anything off of the shares that we pick up. It's for the community. So that's the bulk buying club. We have a Facebook page for that.
And what's the Facebook page called again?
I think it's back to Eden Bulk Buying Club.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sure.
I just want to, before we close, Tony, I want to remind people that I am doing a Get Out the Vote initiative tomorrow from 6:30 to 8:30.
That's what I want to talk about.
I knew you was gonna forget. I don't want to hear your mouth. And then you text me ugly. Oh, how many times are you gonna send this?
Well, thank y'all for having me.
Well, we're not finished with you. 1 second. I got 1 minute left for you, okay?
Don't leave. I just want to bring that up before we close out.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna come back to that. I'm gonna go back to here because I want to make sure that we know about Cheryl's event on Saturday, February the 28th at 1 o'clock at 2498 Washington Boulevard. That boosts your immune systems to fight using clean food ingredients, using whole foods, plant-based lifestyle. And that's going to be here in Beaumont, Texas. They're going to show us about homemade air-fried veggie patties and Creole potatoes air-fried.
Mm-hmm.
So she got a lot going to share with us. So please join her for this clean vegan eats event.
We will also have elderberry and from Garden of Eden Life Company. They make it in your local area. It's fully organic. That we will have their elderberry. We're going to have holy basil tea. This is what was inside of the packages that were dropped off to the people who contacted us that had COVID.
Right.
We will also do pH test to see if your bodies are acidic, and that'll be Letitia Dean.
Okay.
And it's Sunday, it's not Saturday. The event is on Sunday.
I'm sorry, Sunday. Yes, 28th.
Yeah, the 28th.
Yes.
And so we'll have all of that at our health and wellness booth. We're going to try to test for cholesterol. What's the other one? I forget, but Letitia Dean's going to be doing, because she's a certified phlebotomist. She'll be doing that for the community. Also,
Letitia has in the comment box, she says it's Back to Eden Buck Buying Club that you can get those information. Also on 1 and 2, this is for you, 3 and 4, eat healthy, live more, live more. So it's great to have you guys on, and I'm glad we was able to. I'm glad you was able to accept our invitation to the Knowledge is Power Podcast Live, and we're going to share this all over the place.
Thank you.
How about that, Gary? We'll show it all over the place, and we thank you again, Sharon. You want to share anything before we close? Cheryl?
No,
you're finished. Okay. Thank you, Cheryl, again. And thank everyone for listening and watching. And please share it with your friends, neighbors, and loved ones. And come back and see us again on Sunday at Knowledge is Power Podcast.
Thank you for watching Knowledge is Power Podcast Live. Be sure to like and subscribe to all Knowledge is Power social media pages.